Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, guys, today we have extensively covered the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. We talked about the concentrated risk that they took on. We talked about the calls for bailouts, the potential contagion, and crucially, the political corruption and capture that led to that bank winning looser regulations during the Trump years. But for some, this isn't a story about money and power. It's about something else altogether. The dreaded, all-encompassing wokeism.
So I don't have any specific information about any Florida bank similar to Silicon Valley Bank, and hopefully that remains the case. Maria, it just appears to me, I mean, this bank, they're so concerned with DEI and politics and all kinds of stuff. I think that really diverted from them focusing on their core mission.
Total nonsense. Ron DeSantis was not the only one, though. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted, quote, "SVB is what happens when you push a leftist woke ideology and have that take precedent over common sense business practices. This won't be the last failure of this nature so long as people are rewarded for pushing this BS." Of course, that's a very convenient take since the deregulation pushed by industry, including SVB, was signed into law by his dad, and that is a huge part of this story. Now, the Daily Mail and the New York Post are both running with this wokeism narrative, though. Here's the New York Post. They say, while Silicon Valley Bank collapsed, top executive pushed woke programs. Apparently, there was some lady involved in risk management at the bank's UK branch who'd engage in some classic corporate virtue signaling, like launching a pride campaign, a blog that had an LGBTQ focus. What does that have to do with the stunning collapse of the bank and the subsequent debates on bailouts and the subsequent actual bailout? Absolutely nothing. This alleged woke person did not force the bank to lobby Congress on reducing stress tests. They didn't cause the Fed to hike rates, popping the Silicon Valley bubble. Their Pride Month festivities had nothing to do with foolishly putting the bulk of the bank's cash into interest rate sensitive treasuries. Their blog post did not create the Silicon Valley herd mentality, which sparked a bank run. The presence or lack of wokeism is an irrelevant sideshow here. But plenty will fall hook, line, and sinker for this laughable distraction. Because for some entirely too online people, led by a cadre of right-wing media and political elites, opposition to wokeism has become an all-consuming, all-encompassing worldview, blotting out any other potential political understanding. Anti-woke brainworms lead to at least as goofy and authoritarian an approach to politics as woke brainworms do. Anti-wokeism is goofy in that it would lead you to look at a train crash and cover-up caused by corporate greed and instead fixate on some dumb comments about white construction crews, or to look at a bank crash caused by deregulation and corruption and think it has anything to do with some stupid Pride Month celebration. Anti-wokeism is authoritarian in that it paints everything as either good or evil, this black and white view of the world complete with existential warnings that then justifies illiberal tactics, things like banning books, curriculum, and public artistic expression. Now, I consider myself to be an opponent of wokeism. I have called out cancellations of people I profoundly disagree with. I've stood up for the rights of comedians to make edgy or even offensive jokes. I've decried the hollow identity politics that sells racial diversity in elite circles as a panacea for working class Americans. I've opposed the oppression Olympics type of politics that has human beings vying for victimhood points based on immutable personal characteristics. And I have decried the 1619 Robin DiAngelo grifter types who push an ideology that is so woke it's actually racist, arguing things like math is white supremacist and selling their diversity courses which don't accomplish anything except making a handful of so-called anti-racist consultants wildly rich. But the answer to that authoritarian trend among liberals and left liberals is not an equal and opposite myopic authoritarianism on the right. Yet that is in fact the direction which has now been fully embraced by plenty. The goofy distraction anti-woke mode is most clearly demonstrated by presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. He has launched his bid based on his claim to being the CEO of AntiWoke. Now, the fundamental unseriousness of this ideology is demonstrated by the mess that is Vivek's platform. When Sagar and Marshall interviewed him about his key policy priorities, he didn't focus on jobs, healthcare, or corruption. Instead, he name-checked ending affirmative action in federal government hiring and a vague program of building national identity. Now, however you feel about affirmative action, ending it isn't going to solve our core problems in the same way that instituting it did not solve our core problems. And people can't buy a house or afford their prescriptions on national identity. Now, the authoritarian anti-woke mode is most clearly demonstrated by Ron DeSantis. He, too, is hoping to use anti-wokeness to launch him into the presidency. According to PEN America, thousands of books were banned across 32 states this school year, and Florida, led by Ron DeSantis, led the way. Now, DeSantis also banned the teaching of certain concepts in school, pushed to limit tenure for professors, and is working to mandate Western civilization courses in public colleges. So rather than embracing openness, debate, and tolerance, he's actually using the force of government to silence ideological opponents and mandate the teaching of his own preferred ideology. And to make the direction completely clear, he also passed a law that limits protest. Now, there is, of course, a need to counter wokeism. I am on board with that. But the opposite of wokeism is tolerance. It's open debate. It's an embrace of real democracy that devolves power from elites to the American people. It would consistently decry censorship rather than just when it happens to one's ideological allies. It would value nuance and solidarity among the population rather than the vicious politics of personal destruction embodied by wokist cries of racist and anti-wokist cries of groomer. It would shift consciousness from individual villains to systems that we can work together to reform and change. And it would certainly not counter a woke cult with a new anti-woke cult. But wokeism and anti-wokeism are what I would call anti-politics because they keep their adherents focused on individual level grievances about the ideology or personal traits of this executive or that executive versus the type of collective problems which we can actually deal with through small d democratic politics. They keep us all fighting online about who's good and who's bad. We feel like we're doing politics, but we aren't. Not really. Because there are no real society-level solutions in woke or anti-woke fundamentalism. It's only an endless power struggle against your ideological adversaries. If America is an irredeemably racist country, there's no political cure, and progress can only be won through pushing irredeemably racist people out of the public square. And if the woke mind virus is destroying America and liberals are irredeemably woke, well, then you may just see Marjorie Taylor Greene's suggestion of a literal secession via national divorce as the only possible workable solution. Note how all of this is unbelievably convenient for those who benefit from the current disgusting status quo. Nothing could be better for Wall Street crooks, corporate price gougers, and corrupt politicians if the whole nation is squabbling over some window dressing diversity initiative or their phony ESG environmental commitments. Oh no, don't make me put short-term stock prices above my bullshit greenwashing. That'd be terrible. Whatever will we do if we have to take the meaningless Black Lives Matter banner down from our website homepage? All while they pass another corporate tax cut and deregulate another key industry. Bottom line here. Wokeism and anti-wokeism now deeply confuse our politics because they are divisive politics, that's okay, but they have the divisions all wrong. They pit neighbor against neighbor, community against community, when we should all be banding together to fight against the elites who have hijacked our democracy. That is the real way to fight the so-called woke mind virus. Sagar, I thought I was going to lose my mind when I saw. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.